So these are my European exclusives. These were released again, mainly in Europe and in some Australasian countries between the years of 1991 and 1992. Some of them may look familiar because they were reissued just a couple of years later as part of the Generation 2 toy line, but I'm going to show you, if I can, a couple of the differences. We're going to start with the Predator jets. The four at the back are all sealed English versions with 3 loose jets at the front, and then I've got 2 sealed Italian variants, and you can see here they're made by Jig, which is in the bottom logos there, and they also changed the name as well on Bomber. That's the Italian name, and of course his English name was Talon. Now, Overlord was released again in Europe and Australasian countries a few years, in fact 3 years after he was released in Japan, of course, as part of Super God Master Force. However, the big difference is when he was released not in Japan, they were known as Energon figures, not Power Masters or indeed God Masters. To be honest, one of my absolute favourite figures. He's just so impressive. Again, just to show you some of the differences, there is the obliterated Generation 2 box for Pyro, and here is the European version that came out a couple of years before. So you can see he's referred to as Pyro, and indeed there's no Generation 2 there, as there is on this other box. Again, just to remind you, if you want to see any more detailed videos on these individually, they are available on my channel. Now, unfortunately, Pyro does suffer from gold plastic syndrome. We've got both modes there with the battle station and indeed his Decepticon nemesis there, which is Clench. And again, we've got a nice sealed example there. No Generation 2 packaging, all in Generation 1. Moving down, this is the Dutch box variant of Thunderclash. You can see they've called him Eagle. I've got the loose example you'll see in a second. Coming on to the Turbo Masters, again, all of these in the packaging are the Italian variants, and you can see they also changed the name. So Scorch is called Fury, and of course Boss is now Tigra. Hurricane, unfortunately, I don't have a sealed one, so he's just popped there. Moving down, we've got the Rescue Force. Now, these were strange because avid Transformer fans will recognise these as 4 bots from Leo Kaiser, which was, of course, again, the Japanese exclusive figure, whereas in Europe, we only got 4, so we got no combiner kibble, and indeed, they were packaged differently. You can see there we've got silver weapons, but in the package example, we've got red, and pretty much exactly the same, but the opposite way around, with what was known as Drill Horn. They're silver and they're red. More interestingly enough, they didn't actually have proper names. They were just referred to as Rescue Jet, Rescue Drill, Rescue Car, and Rescue Tank. Moving down, we've got the Tracons, and indeed, no, the Tracons is the Decepticon name. So we've got Deathwing there. There is, of course, Thunderclash, and there is Rotor Storm, and there is Iron Fist. Moving down to the Action Masters, and the interesting ones are the fact that Windmill and indeed Omega Supreme at the end there do actually transform. These 3 in the middle don't. They are, of course, Sideswipe, Trax, and Power Flash. And then we've got the exosuits. So we've got Rumbler on the right-hand side, and then we've got Circuit on the left. Again, European exclusives. Carrying on along, well, European and Australasian, we've got the Motivators. Now again, these interestingly enough were released in Japan a few years before as Road Caesar, and as you can see, these were again released but with no combiner kibble. You can combine them, but there's no kibble at all. You've got the gold boxes they were packaged in. We've then got the Decepticon exosuit, so we've got Slicer. And the interesting thing about this is lots of these characters are quite prevalent right now. So this is, of course, Evil Wheeljack or Shattered Glass Wheeljack. And to be honest, there is Thundercracker. And that is pretty much one of the main reasons why we have the Shattered Glass continuity now. There is Thundercracker's exosuit and jet. And that is Slicer's vehicle. What we've got here is an English one. And we've got a multi-language European version. Moving on to the Decepticon Action Masters. So we've got the 3 standard ones. We've got Bombshell, Charger, and then we've got the Action Master Elite, which you can see there. These are basically based on Bruticus and indeed Scorponok. You can tell just by looking at them. Now the Constructicons, you can see the yellow ones. I know these were released as part of G2, but these were released beforehand in again in these packaging, and as you can see, there's no combiner kibble. And if we spin it round to the back, you can see the date right there, 1991, Hasbro UK. So these were released all before Generation 2, but with no combiner kibble, very interestingly and strangely enough. Okay, last few down here, we've got Stalker, we've got a couple of them loose, and then we've got the Track-Ons, we've got Calcar, and we've got Fear Swoop. Finally, another one who again horrendously suffers with gold plastic syndrome is of course the Predator Skyquake. I think that pretty much covers the European exclusives. Once again, if you'd like to see these in any more detail, just type their names into the search bar on my channel.